Mike Giardi covers the NFL for BostonSportsJournal.com. He joins us in studio this morning. Mr. Giardi, hello, sir.
Hello, gentlemen.
What are you hearing? Because this is the first week where I never thought there would even be any kind of discussion about a during the season dismissal. But I mean, you heard Mike Reese there. Mike Reese, by the way, it says he knows nothing. He has no internal thing, but we did talk about precedent. We know that Joe Philbin, when he was over in London, they basically left him there. And the week before, what was it, Arthur? What I forget the guy's name. Arthur Smith? No, not Arthur Smith.
No, Arthur
the guy.
Smith.
It was the guy from the Raiders.
Oh, Dennis Allen.
Dennis Allen. I'm sorry, you're right. Dennis Allen was left just the week before. So this, I mean, it is kind of commonplace that if you're going to fire someone mid-season, doing it internationally is kind of the way to do it, especially before a bye week. What do you know? What are you hearing as far as Bill Belichick is concerned?
For those who would like this to happen, I've heard nothing that indicates that it's going to happen. I think he gets the year. I think we talked about it last week. I still think if you said right now, Mike, do you think he's back next year? I think he's back next year. I'm still in that place.
Why though? Why do you think that?
Let's assume they end up finishing with 5 wins or less. Let's just assume that, okay? Why?
Well, 5. I think when we talked last week, that's sort of like the cutoff point for me. Like,
Let's just assume nothing. Why would he be back if it continues down this road?
Because I don't think Robert wants to be the guy that bounces Bill.
Okay. My question to that would be why? Because let's just see if we're on the same page. Next year, there's a chance that Christian Gonzalez is literally the only outstanding, a young player that has a chance of being outstanding on this team. You have a crisis at the quarterback position, and nothing coming through the pipeline. What would be the justification for it? Just because? So would you just never fire him ever?
Past history? Yeah, honestly, I don't think there is necessarily a great reason to keep him if you end up 5-12, 4-13. But to this point, anything that the Krafts have leaked, for lack of a better term, if we're going to the Jeff Howe story, from a few weeks ago, they've talked this way for 3 years, and for 3 years they've done nothing. They've shown me no signs that they're willing to make the hard decision here. And until they make it, I'm not going to believe that they're going to make it.
It's never been this bad, though. I mean, like even last year,
last year was pretty bad.
Last year was
bad.
They
did win 8 games.
But there was also that was a one-down year. They went to the playoffs the year before, and then you're saying to yourself, it's all about the bad offensive coordinator. That let's get Bill O'Brien here. Things will be different. This is completely uncharted territory right now.
And when Bill goes and meets with Robert, he's going to say, "Did you see what happened to our offensive line? And you can say whatever you want about how they didn't invest enough resources in right tackle with Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson, but for the fact that both of them get hurt in Calvin never participated in the preseason because of his illness, and once again he's sick, and it doesn't seem like we're going to see him again. And Riley gets hurt at the end of preseason, like he's going to go. We didn't have the offensive line for the entire year, and when it wasn't ready to come back until September, and then it took him a little time to kick off the rust." Trent Brown is in various states of Trent Brown conditioning. That took some time. Cole Strange goes down in day one. Like, the very foundation of what we were trying to be is this solid physical offensive line, and we actually never had those guys together until 2 weeks ago.
But then if I'm Robert Kraft, I would say, well,
and then we lose Judon, and we lose. I'm just telling you, his argument is like.
How about the passes that couldn't be caught by our receivers?
I would say this. I would say you lost to New Orleans 34-0 at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what your offensive line was. You lost to New Orleans 30. That's the game I would just keep pointing to. I'd be like, you got killed by New Orleans at home, and then never turned it around. Like you're.
And he'll say that was a mere blip, a 2-game blip between Dallas and New Orleans, and that if you look. Just right now, today, if you look at these 7 losses, he could say five of them we had a chance to win. We did.
But you did.
We did. Okay. And then let's have the next level of the conversation is, I didn't believe in the quarterback. You in ownership did. We doubled down on the quarterback. Do you think the quarterback's worth doubling down on? What if we had a better quarterback?
What if we kept Garoppolo? I would counter with that. We're having a fun conversation here because then I'd go, look at Garoppolo. He sucks, and that's who you wanted all along.
And he would say that Garoppolo would never have turned into what he turned into if he had stayed here because
Of Patricia?
well,
I mean, he could also say Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl.
Patricia would have ruined it too.
I mean,
No, but I would go look at Garoppolo this year. I'd be like, this is who your quarterback would be, and he'd be terrible. Garoppolo could have very well gone to a Super Bowl. It didn't happen this year.
But do you think that the Krafts would do that to because the fans would. I don't think the fans would take it. If you kept Bill Belichick around, I don't know how many people are going to those games next year.
didn't they? Well, just didn't they raise ticket prices heading into this year? I'm pretty sure they did. So you went 8-9. It was ugly at times last year. You had the horrible loss to Vegas and one of the most embarrassing, finishes to a game ever.
It's fun to be there, though.
Oh, it was awesome.
That ending was so ridiculous that I actually laughed.
I was sitting right next to you. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
I was stuck at Logan Airport because they lost my luggage. I was coming back from Buffalo from that one.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to watch that game on tape. But I don't think that. I think they'll tell you it matters. I don't think they think it matters.
Wow, so you
They still have look.
Then what do they do? Then what changes do
You
they
still
make?
have a full season ticket list. You still have a waiting list. Maybe it's not as long as it used to be, but you still have that. Like, okay.
Well, I'm not worried about who's coming to the games.
Well,
But
they are. They are.
No,
they don't like the perception of people walking out.
Rich, I understand, but it's not like people aren't going to go to the games. What I'd be concerned about is that, they like being on TV from everything we told. They like being in prime time. Mm-hmm. They don't like being. They love being on TV so much.
Fred, that's a bigger motivator than I think what the fans think.
Right. That's
what
what
the fans would like to think.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. Is
most.
that like so? That's everything we've always been told is that the Krafts love the prime time. They love being on television. They love the accolades. And listen, people are going to go to Patriot games. It's going to take a while. It takes a while. He had a 20-year run. It's going to take a while to lose that fan base. But if ever. There's a whole generation. I can't see anyone doing that. But that juice kind of goes away. And do you think that would be the major factor? Like that would be, if anything, that would be what it was. The networks pulling you and flexing your games and things of that nature.
Yeah, you don't want to be like you're looking at a situation where that Chiefs game, which I think is a Monday night game. The only reason to keep that in the spot that it's in right now is because it's the Chiefs, not because of you, certainly. And maybe I haven't looked at the schedule that far in advance to know are there better games that could be flexed into that situation, or will the network just want to keep Kansas City in that spot? But that always stings them a little bit. Look at the Vegas game was the prime example last year, right? If you had been good enough, then that game remains in prime time. And when you're in prime time, that means there's double the cameras there, and then maybe the play in the corner of the end zone to Cole. They have an actual end zone camera that shows that his foot is out of bounds and not inbounds instead of having to do it from up above from the left side. The angle was all bad on that one.
So let's say, Mike, that works.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick sits down with Robert Kraft and convinces him, let's do this again. Let's give it another run. What has changed? Because the Krafts obviously aren't going to just run it back. They have to do something to save some face. What do you think changes?
Dallas Buffalo, by the way, if you wanted to know Giardi, you can flex the Dallas Buffalo.
There you go. That's a vastly superior game. I would say probably take away a little bit more of his final say.
But does that really mean anything?
I mean something to Bill.
But are they really gonna stand by that? If Bill says no, I don't want to do this, do you really think that anyone's gonna go, Bill, you're wrong, we're doing it?
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a slap on the wrist.
How much is
but
Bill?
Then they can. But to your point, if we get into the situation where we're talking about how is it perceived by people outside the organization, the fan base, so you can't run it back. You can't run it back with Bill. You can't run it back with. I hear from plenty of people who are like, it's not Bill's fault. They won't let him spend money, which now I believe they're in lockstep in that whole thing.
Why? Okay, all right.
It's not Bill's fault because he didn't want Mac Jones.
Okay, what is the? Okay, because I hear this a lot. Like the Krafts don't want to spend money. First of all, in a capped league, I don't get that. It just seems like. So is that
what happened 3 years ago?
Yeah,
do you remember when they did that spending?
That idiotic
splurge?
But
they
what
did
is?
it, and then the ownership still hasn't sort of gotten over having to spend that much money. So.
Yeah. So what's the deal with that? What is the deal in a league with a cap? What is the deal with spending money in them?
Well, I mean, what are they in the last 5 years? Are they 28th or 29th in actual cash spending? So
That's a Kraft decision, or is that
no? I look. I'm telling you what people are. What the fan base tells. Some of the feedback I get from the fan base about why it's not Bill's fault. I think, quite frankly, that Bill and the Krafts work in lockstep with that whole thing. I think Bill kind of gets off on
right?
not having to spend as much money and still producing for the better part of 2 decades, producing championship level teams. But I think as we've, had hammered home for the last 3.5 years, the guy that used to play quarterback had a lot to do with being able to be a championship level team.
It's so funny because he just used to be able to do anything. Like, I'm just going to take a receiver and put him at defensive back.
Yep.
And it's not going to matter. Wait, you're trading your best linebacker. Yeah, don't. And we're just gonna trade him.
Yeah,
or we're trading Logan Mankins. You can't do that. Nothing he did mattered, and it was and it was so frustrating as someone a fan of the NFL that you would go, "Wow, Bill's finally done it. He's really screwed up this time," and then it didn't matter.
Well,
then you realize that it does matter. They are like everyone else. It's just when you don't have Brady. Right?
When we get back, this is the point of the season when you're 2-7, where you start to see splintering in the locker room. I mean, we've kind of seen hints of it. I want to ask you a little bit about how tough it has to be playing for the Patriots with a coach like Bill Belichick and not be winning anymore, because that used to be the reason you'd be able to tolerate this whole Patriot way. Mm-hmm. But when you're not winning, I want to know what's going on right now in that locker room,
and also how that's going to affect this trip to Germany. Don't you just real quick, just yes or no? Do you think this is a very bad time to be going to Germany?
Yeah, I think them getting away from everything is good. Like not having to deal with you can still see it on social media and whatnot. But like getting away is probably a good thing. But the way they're playing and the way they're looking at each other, probably not the.
It just seems like everything
great.
Speeds up, like it's all sped up, and then you're reeling, and then you don't have time to get your footing. So
you get a nice 9-hour flight.
Yep.